Hello. Thanks again for tuning in to the Dave and Dale Music Show. This is episode 6, and how do you find it, Dale?
Well, Dave, so far I'm enjoying the process, and I've noticed that I kind of feel like coming to do another show. So far I think that's a good sign.
That's great. And
how are you feeling?
I feel pretty good about the whole thing. Yeah. I know nobody likes it, but too bad. We are going to maybe at one point.
We might be up to double-digit viewership now.
Yeah,
Dave.
we had some views. Come on, Dale.
There's a few
Let's
views.
not kid ourselves. This is quite successful. It's still in the embryonic stages.
Yes, very embryonic.
Anyway, if we just upgraded our technology, we'd probably get a lot more views.
That would probably make all the difference.
Yeah, I think so. Okay, today I'm going to do a tune that I did, or wrote and put on my Tall Blue House album, which was 15 years ago, I guess, or something. And the first version I was playing the nylon string, sort of a finger-picking style. This time I'm going to just use the acoustic and change it up a little bit. We're the ones in the tall blue house at the end of the street. It's a boxwood hedge, makes the air so sweet. House is all done up, traditional style. Come on in, stay a while. Did you notice it's all hardwood floor? Yeah, I know, costs a little bit more. The house has been designed to take advantage of the natural light. Spare no expense, get it right. Is this what I sacrificed my life for? It'll take another year just to pay for that front door. I had a dream, I let it slip away. Too many distractions and lack of vision. Maybe I had nothing to say, nothing to say. Is this what I sacrificed my life for? It'll take another year just to pay for that front door. I had a dream, I let it slip away. Too many distractions and a lack of vision. Maybe I had nothing to say, nothing to say. Nothing to say. And as it turns out, we're not quite happy here. The yard's much too small, so painfully clear. The kids need more room, more space to grow. We gotta face the facts, it's time to go. I'd like to relocate closer to the sea. Think that ocean air would would be good for me. The move would set us back, but that's okay. I go down to the bank, see what they say. Is this what I sacrificed my life for? It'll take another year just to pay for that front door. I had a dream, I let it slip away. Too many distractions and lack of vision. Maybe I had nothing to say. Nothing to say. Nothing to say.
Well, that was lovely, Dave.
Thank you, Dale.
So you were saying you wrote it quite a few years ago. I recall that. I recall the earlier version. Do you remember what inspired the song in the first place?
Yeah,
After you have a sip of coffee.
I do remember actually.
Yeah.
Tall blue house. We had a tall blue house. We built a house that was tall and blue. And it was a kind of a weird shaped house. I remember it was kind of interesting. We were building in our cul-de-sac. And there was other houses being built, and the framers down the way, they would look at our house and call it the Pee Wee Herman house. Because it looked sort of goofy when it was being built. It was all so tall and skinny. So they were mocking our house.
Right on. So that was the inspiration, sort of.
Tall blue house.
Yeah. Do you recall the process of writing it, or anything?
Well, I mean, it just on the lyric bit, a little bit more. Just that, I think that was the time of my life where I was working a lot, sort of mid, 40s or whatever, and you get into a bit of a grind, right?
Oh,
With
yeah.
your work, right? And that for me, it was like, the whole idea of, I guess this is my life, working every day, and music is just a thing I can do on the side a little bit, and but that's depressing.
But it can make for a good song, as in this case. Do you find, Dave, that that sad emotions tend to trigger good songs for you?
Well, what I do, Dale, is I have a little pocket knife,
Yes.
and I stab myself.
You get engaged in some self-injury, is that what you're saying?
Self-flagellate. What the whip thing? One of those.
Okay.
That usually gets me
That's
going.
really healthy, Dave.
Yeah, the tears
It's excellent.
flowing.
Yeah. So you're modeling some good behavior for those around you, and
Well, I'm just
feeling
saying
good at the same time too.
that's a more advanced singer-songwriter technique. You don't really have to start there.
Hang on.
It'll develop to something like that, probably.
Right on. Well, so we're learning more about you all the time, Dave. The picture is getting clearer here. So do you recall the process of writing the song,
Okay,
Dave?
let me think about the musical part of it. For me, it was quite. I worked on it a long time. It's got the interesting thing for me was when I hit that kind of
Yep.
ascending thing, and
Yes.
to that, and then in the next part, I'm talking about the chorus. It goes like those kind of
Yeah. Suspended. Yep.
movements with different
Yeah.
bass notes
Yeah.
descending. That to me was a bit of an advanced thing I was working on,
Cool.
and so I think it worked out well.
It did. Yeah.
People tend to like that song, and I'm quite happy to have written it.
Oh, as you should be. Now, I mean, I think we should speak to the fact that you're doing a different version of it than you did. Now, can you identify for our viewers your reasons for changing it up from what it was?
Well, there's a couple of things. First of all, when I went to replay it, this beginning of the verse, it ends on the minor chord, and when I was doing it again, I just felt better to go to a major chord like that. It's an add something there too.
It's an add 4. Yeah.
Add 4, okay. So I changed it, which changes the feel. It almost feels like you shouldn't do it, but I think it works.
Well, sure. That this underscores a really super important message, I think, which is that even though there are rules to music and typical ways of doing, let's say, chords, there's no absolute right and wrong. And if it sounds good, it is good.
And Dale, that just clicked another little thing in my brain. That is why you will never have a effing computer write a hit song.
Not just a regular computer.
A really good one, like a Super Blue or whatever the hell they are. No, it's not going to happen. I mean, they write something that sounds like something else, but you know.
Right. But no, so not only is that an important message, but a good thing for you guys to think about is, you know, all the typical chords that you would play in, let's say, in a major key, though this is in a minor key a lot of the time, but a lot of the typical chords, whatever key you're in, whether it's major or minor, there's no absolute wrong if you want to change that chord from a major to a minor or vice versa. If it sounds good to you, then do it.
There's no absolute still.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And I mean.
So just let your ear be your guide, and if it sounds good to you, it's good.
Well, it's good to have people to bounce things off of that have different, come from a.
That's true.
Like most of the stuff I play for Dale, he says, that's just shit. And then I go back and I
and then he
cry.
realizes I was way off base, and then, no, it actually is brilliant.
And I go crawl back to my house. He says, I thought it was a good song.
Okay, no, so that's cool. So, you change that chord. You change some timing. You change other things. You changed like a few things about this song. Like
on the nylon, just a picking thing. So, just trying to get some rhythm. I mean, if I'm performing this song, I just want to have more of a backbeat to it.
Okay.
And that way, it's just something you can. Like before, you couldn't really tap your foot to it. I wouldn't think, or you wouldn't want to.
Yeah.
Maybe
the viewers are wanting to know what a backbeat is, Dave.
Okay, well, just think in terms of a drum, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4/4 time. That's typical of most pop songs, or 3/4, but this is 4/4 time. So the accent is on 1, or you can put the accent somewhere else. Like if you're playing drums, you might have the kick on 1 and the snare on 2 or 3 or something. Probably on 3, like 1, 2, 3. Yeah, the snare would be on 3. The kick
that's
on 1.
The backbeat sound. Yeah.
So I'm emphasizing this
3.
kick. You know, the first impact, which is 1, and then 1, 2, 3, and then it swings a bit, right? And that's. Oops, I got to shut my phone off. Hang on.
We're live. We got phones ringing. We got all kinds of stuff going on, but we're cool. We're all cool.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Yeah, so that's good. So that's another thing for the viewer to think about.
Yeah.
The songwriters. Not only are you writing, you know, melody and chords and words, you should also be thinking about rhythm and feel.
Yeah.
You know, and
essentially what I've got here is I've got a mini drum kit with a snare and a kick, and then the little clicky things can be the hi-hat or something. You know, think in those terms.
Yeah. So that's good. So you elected to change the feel a bit, and it gave the song some new life.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's good. It's always good to get a little new life going.
Yes.
Especially when you get to our age.
Well, Bill, I'm feeling pretty dang good right now.
Well, that is good, Dave.
Walk every day.
That's great. That's fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything else about this song, Dave, that we should be exploring? So you don't recall the process of writing it? What you started with? Or?
No, I'm trying to. I can't remember the specifics of the working out of the chords, but you know that was when I was doing a lot of finger picking.
Right.
So there was no strumming involved in this song.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
So it just sort of worked. Because I have a bit of a background in classical guitar, so that helped me with the, you know.
For those of you that don't know, Dave's a wonderful finger picker, and he's got his own little style. It's not something like Travis picking. It's his own little thing, and it's pretty cool. So if you get to know more of his music, and maybe you will through this show, you'll come to see that, I think. So okay, something else I was going to ask you. Maybe we should talk about him improvising over this song.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
I mean,
it's a bit of a challenge, I
it's
think, probably.
Well,
Because it seems like there's that major minor
Yes.
conflict happening all the time, and
Right.
of course we just worked this out, so he doesn't know when I'm going to hit that major versus minor, and neither do I.
I'm trying to pay attention, and
I do it one way one time, and
I must have one or two sketchy notes, but for the most part, I was tracking with it. The trick on this song is it's in a minor key for the most part, and every other time, it goes to a minor 4, but every other time it goes to a major 4, which is very unusual for a minor key. But it happens.
We're talking about the difference between that sound and this sound.
So
this being the minor, obviously, and this is major with an added 4.
It has a sweetness to it.
Yeah, I found that because I wanted to sing the lines differently, and the melody notes that I had for the original minor chord wouldn't work. I had to go. That's just but you know what I mean.
Yeah, and that's a good thing for the viewers that are songwriters to be thinking about, is instead of just going to a chord that your hand wants to go to or that you're used to playing, ask yourself, does this chord support the melody that I actually want to hear? And if it doesn't, change the chord.
Yeah, and oftentimes the melody won't be one of the notes that you're playing in the chord, which could, makes it even cooler sometimes.
Well, that's an absolutely important point. I mean, one of the things that happens all the time in music is the melody. Really, to a large extent, what makes the melody interesting is the notes that happen outside of the actual chord, but usually they resolve to the chord tones.
Yeah.
If they're outside, they can go in, and that pulls the ear in, and you go, oh yeah.
And that's an interesting thing that bringing up, how do you learn an instrument? And I remember learning guitar, and it's not. I mean, if I could read music a little bit, and you could, I could see what the notes were for the melody, but it's not a case of we can just say, okay, singing an E or whatever it is, I'll just play an E chord. That rarely works. The chords are independent of the melody. And so, I mean, the point is that just going and listening to a song and picking out the melody and thinking you can drive the chords from that is not necessarily the case.
Well, I mean, another way I would put it is, if you're going to make a melody and it's exclusively based on notes in the chord, I'm sure there are occasions when that works, but a lot of times the melody will sound too stiff, and boring. So it's those notes in between the chord tones that usually are in the scale that you're in, whether it's major or minor, that usually precede a chord note, that make it interesting.
Mm-hmm. And the other thing I'm trying to do, just back on the lyrics of this song and other songs, is if you've got a line that asks a question, say, you want to phrase your melody in the way that a question would sound like when you're talking.
Usually it's a tail up.
It's usually a tail up. So these kind of things. So just that's the kind of when somebody says I'll make it more conversational. That's one of the things you can do is just notice when you're talking. If you're making a point, does your voice go up or down, or does it pause? This kind of thing, and then that can translate really well into phrasing for your lyrics.
And another thing, kind of sort of related to that, but slightly different, is it's great if the words can reflect the melody or vice versa, where they match. So if you say, You know, I want to get high.
Yeah.
You don't go, I want to get high. That
No.
just doesn't carry it.
Exactly.
You want the melody, if you know, to a certain extent, to reflect the word that's there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then when you're
A
singing,
lot of this is obvious stuff, but there's more. There's depth to it. You can think about it more, and you can think about not just up or down, but think about phrasing and how somebody will just for a split second they'll pause just to get your attention before they say something.
Yep, absolutely. Okay. Well, I'll just talk briefly about, for those of you that like to are learning to play lead guitar or whatever. A song like this, you have to be careful to not land on a bad note, because in this case, some of the time he's going to a minor third of that 4 chord, and sometimes there's a major third in that 4 chord, and those two don't like each other.
No.
So, so
They're a half a tone apart, which is the worst thing you
yeah,
can do.
so you got to just pay it. So, when you're doing a solo, try to be mindful of the chords, so that at least, you're landing on, at least, landing on, even if you have some preceding notes, where you're landing generally should be a chord tone. It can be different, but to at least reflect the changes if you can, and be mindful not to hit a really obviously bad note.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, usually if you hit it and stay on it long enough, you might convince somebody that was the
That you meant it.
planned event.
Right. Yeah. Well,
Well, it was fun, Dale.
I think it was pretty good, Dave. Anything else we want to say? I guess we want to. We'll draw this to a close, I guess, unless there's something else you want to say, Dave.
I think we're good.
Yeah. So just a reminder to the viewers to send us questions if you have any comments. That would be great. We would like to get some input and respond to some stuff. Want to encourage you to consider giving to your local food bank wherever you are. Maybe support an agency that helps the needy. And we want to thank you once again for tuning in.
Thank you.